E-Litt Ninjas. Today we are going to talk about T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland. And we are just going to cover important characters in this episode, but in the coming videos we will try to cover more themes or other important aspects. So enjoy! T.S. Eliot's Wasteland is one of the most important work in modernist category, and it is widely known. It was first published in 1922 as a 434-lined poem, and in the UK it first appeared in the October issue of T.S. Eliot's The Criterion. In the US it appeared in the November issue of The Dial. Among its famous phrases are April is the cruelest month, then Sanskrit chant Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The 5 sections of T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland are The Burial of the Dead, The Game of Chess, The Fire Sermon, Death by Water, and last, What the Thunder Said. First one, the narrator. Now it is very hard to describe because the narrator takes on many forms. Sometimes it looks like it's Eliot himself, and sometimes the narrator stands for all of humanity. In the Fire Sermon, it's the Fisher King of the Holy Grail legend and also the blind prophet Tiresias. Who is Fisher King? Well, he is closely associated with the Arthurian circle and most closely to the Holy Grail legend. Now, Fisher King is wounded near his groin or thigh, but it leaves him infertile. What about Tiresias? Now, he is from the Greek mythology. He is the son of a shepherd and a nymph, and he accidentally watches goddess Athena taking a bath. So Athena took his sight away, but she also gives him this foresight, the ability to see visions of future. Now, when this narrator reflects Eliot in The Wasteland, it's ambiguous. It confuses us, in short words. Second one, Madden's sorceress. She is a clairvoyant, meaning someone who is able to see the future, let's say fortune teller or psychic. She is from Aldous Huxley's Chrome Yellow, and Eliot has borrowed her for this tarot episode. She suffers from a bad cold, but she is also the wisest woman in Europe. Well, she has a cold, so there is something deceased about her. Third, the rich lady. She is never represented by name, and she sits in a magnanimous room in the section A Game of Chess. Now she has an antique collection, she has all sorts of riches, but she is not able to enjoy or have any sort of pleasure from all the richness that she has. She might also represent Eliot's wife Vivian, and she's also likened to Cleopatra. So all richness and beauty and magnificence. Lil. Now her marriage is openly discussed at the pub, and she is a representative of the working class. So in a way, both Lil and the rich lady, their husbands are in the military, so the war, the distressing elements of war is brought into these characters. One represents the working class and the other represents the upper class. Philomena. She is a character from Ovid's Metamorphoses. Now Tereus, a king, marries Procne, an Athenian princess, and Procne lives with Tereus. But Procne starts to miss her sister Philomena. So she begs Tereus to bring her so that they both can live together. Now the husband agrees, Tereus goes, and he is able to convince Philomena's father to send her along with him. And they both travel back, but once the voyage is over, Tereus rapes her because he has deep lust for her right from the moment he set her eyes on her. Rapes her, and Philomena tells that I'm going to tell the world what you have done. So he cuts her tongue off, and then he rapes her again and leaves her imprisoned in the cabin in the woods. Now Philomena weaves the story into a tapestry and then sends this as a message to her sister Procne. Procne understands this and brings her sister back to her. They plot revenge against King Tereus. So Procne kills their son Itys and serves the dismembered body as a meal to Tereus as revenge. And Tereus eats the food and then asks for his son, and then Philomela comes with his head. So, well, revenge served. They both flee because Tereus is obviously very angry, and they are transformed into a nightingale and a swallow. But our Tereus, he's transformed into a hoopoe. Then the typist. Now the typist is a lonely creature. There is a man who comes to her and sleeps with her and then leaves her. So she's all alone. Then she goes back to her work. So all she's surrounded by is her work. So Eliot, in a way, represents the lonely women of the industrialized society through this typist. She is an archetype. She is unnamed. Mr. UGC-NET. He is a Smyrna merchant, and probably he is the one whom Madden sorceress refers to in the Tarot episode. He is a one-night merchant, and the Tarot episode presents a lot of struggle or shows a lot of struggle for the future. Now, this merchant carries currants in his pocket. It's a dried form or dried seed. The seed is actually very fertile, but obviously when it's dried, it's infertile. So this again represents the infertility of the Fisher King's land, because these are from the Fisher King's land. And he invites the narrator to have a homosexual tryst at the hotel. Stetson. A friend of Eliot, or a representation of his divided self? Well, some argue that Eliot worked at the Lloyd's Bank, so maybe Stetson is a representative of that part of his life, or maybe someone who fought with him in World War. Maybe they have a history together. Phoebus. Well, Phoebus, a Phoenician merchant who is drowned and dead in the section Death by Water. Maybe he is the Phoenician sailor who Madden sorceress sees as someone who's gonna drown and die. And his body is just lying there. Just like Stetson's corpse, the body doesn't yield anything, just products of decay. But this section, in a way, proves what Madden sorceress tells, like fear the death by water. So this has happened. This section is very important because, in a way, it fulfills what we heard from Madden sorceress. And when she pulls the death or the drowned sailor card, she says fear death by water. So here we have a death by water. This section also mimics other literary forms, biblical stories, grand forms, so that are usually rich in meaning. So the irony, in a way, is twofold. One, fulfilling the judgment, and also the style. So this twofold importance, the future being fulfilled, and the richness of style tells us that okay, this is really important. But what does it tell us? That this normal, it's just a form, just produces decay, products of decay. So we are confused. Well, in a way, it also tells us that the physical reality of death triumphs over everything. It's final. There's no transfiguration or transformation. Death is final and there is nothing good coming out of it. There is no hope coming out of it. Death, decay. That's it, and that's a reality. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching E-Litt Ninjas. See you soon.